Hey everyone, this is Sarah Fouts, and I'm here again to do part 2 of the discussion about environment, Honduras, and migration. Again, I'm an assistant professor in the Department of American Studies and director of the Public Humanities minor at University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I am going to talk to you today about remittances, the environment, and mapping fieldwork in Honduras. Remittances are the money that immigrants send back to their country of origin that's used for, education or building homes or buying land. And the remittances in Honduras make up around 20% of the GDP in that country, which is approximately $4.9 billion. So you could tell it's a very big part of the money that is for that economy. And so what I'm going to talk today is kind of building on the discussion from the first video, but thinking in this case about small scale land um, owners and small scale agriculture and the importance of that to migrant communities and their families. I also am using a tool that I will use half of the time for this video to show you how to use in the classroom. As I'm a part of a public humanities program, and we try to incorporate a lot of different approaches to teaching public humanities and using different digital tools for engaging to showcase academic scholarship in different ways. So this is, I'll show you here, is part of the Night Lab story map. So if you just want to Google that, it's a very easy to follow open source software to build maps. And I found as a very useful tool for storytelling and talking about research, et cetera, and very useful in the classroom in particular. So I'll use this tool, and then I'll show you how to upload and build your own project. So what I have are mapped in this image on the left is a picture of Honduras, which is part of the Isthmus in Central America. And I've mapped 5 different locations. We'll probably just go to 2 for this presentation, so I'll have plenty of time to show you how to use it. And we'll first go to, well, I actually want to go back and discuss, kind of what this research is about before I get into it, right? So in 2013 and 2015, I went and visited the families of immigrants who live in New Orleans to get a better idea of, from an ethnographic viewpoint, a very micro level approach, the day-to-day lives of Hondurans, it, you know, to understand why people left, to understand the transnational connections between New Orleans and Honduras, and understand the impacts of remittances for immigrants' families. On the macro level, which is more of what I talked about in the first video, looking at the impacts of private development, tourism industries, large-scale agriculture, as well as link the past and the present through these historical ties between these two places, namely through banana trade, but also other connections in that way. A lot of this research was supported by the Stone Center when I was in graduate school, as well as other places as well. So the first stop on both of my trips was to a place called Atima or Nueva Victoria in the department of Santa Barbara, Honduras. And so there I visited Dennis, who is a colleague. He was actually an organizer with the Congress of Day Laborers and a construction worker in New Orleans. And so Dennis used the remittances to send to his family in Nueva Victoria to build the new house that you see featured in the photo, as well as buy more land for their coffee farms. So they have a small scale coffee farm where they will harvest the coffee and they'll put it through the mill, which you see featured here. They'll pull out the seed, which is the coffee bean that we're familiar with. They'll dry it out on a concrete slab at the base of this mill, and then they'll sell it on the market, as well as use some for home consumption as well. And they have different plots of coffee land across the Santa Barbara region, which is very mountainous. And so it's just a very beautiful place. and they've been very successful. And Dennis has also dabbled in tilapia farming and other types of agricultural projects as well. So you could see kind of the impacts, how he was able to build this house and also buy a truck and really kind of develop his farming practices with his family. Next, we'll go across the country to a town called Esquipulas del Norte in Olancho, the department of Olancho, Honduras, which is in the eastern part of the country. And here I visited the family of Sandra. And Sandra in New Orleans is she sells tamales on the street and works as a housekeeper in a hotel in New Orleans. And she sends the money that she makes in a lot of the money she sends that she makes in New Orleans to her mother, who lives in a very remote area in Esquipulas del Norte. And to get there, we had to basically go down, spiral down a mountain that, then had to go ford a river to get over to the small community where she lives at the very end of the community. And she has barely has electricity, just a couple hours in the day, and no running water. But Sandra's money that she sent down there has been used to buy 200 acres of land, which is 80 hectares, to grow beans in this really remote and hilly area. So her mother before that had informal economies where she sold tamales, and she did worked as a seamstress and moved around the country a lot. But with this land, she's been able to settle down, have a house, and have this land to have some more stability and income from her daughter. Um, so you get an idea of where this money is going to. It's going to build land to create stability for these families, and for the immigrant communities for if they choose to return, they'll have those spaces. Um, and then if we go, so now I want to just show you how to develop a story map. So in this other, so this is what it looks like if you um, the website, and you would just go to Night Lab story map. You don't want to do ArcGIS because that's a little more complicated, but you could probably figure it out. It'll come up with a screen like this. If you click on My Maps, and you'll put in your email, and then you would go down to New, and you could create a new map. I have one already created. We'll just stick to that one. It's going a little slow, but that's okay. And so I found this, really useful to map restaurants in with a student project. We did a historical project using historical newspapers where students mapped different food markets. They also mapped different uh, like food banks, all kinds of different projects that have come out of these mapping exercises. So you can change like the background of the map. You could put in, if you want it to be more colorful, you can make the watercolor, which is, brightens it up a bit, or you could just use the standard street maps, which is also pretty neat. It's pretty easy to change photos. So for example, with the one with Dennis, if we wanted to put a different image there, we could do an image of him and his father. And so you just upload, and you can fill in, the title and the text. And the way you can do the coordinates, which you can get easily from Google Maps. I can show you how to do that in just a second. So if you do that, then you can hit preview, let me move this out of the way. So we put this new image of Dennis instead of the coffee mill. Right there he is with his father on some of the coffee farm, and you could see the different map on the left. And then if we wanted to add a new one, we'd go back to edit and then add slide. And then if we wanted to put Mardion, which is the place that we focused on, Honduras, on in the first video, but that puts us at this Honduras Shores plantation, which we definitely don't want. So I pulled up Mardion on a map here. We could get the coordinates here by just right clicking and then copies to the clipboard here. And we could put these coordinates directly into the map. So you have to follow the prompt here, lat and lon, which I have here. And so that actually moves us from the plantation right here to Mardion, which is here. You give it a headline, Santiago's Bar, right? And then you can upload your image, which is what we did before. And you just fill it out like this. You can design it however you'd like, but it's a really great tool. And then you get a link from the top right, which I don't think you could see because of my image here. But then you can use this in order to share different information or map different information. Anything that could be mapped is useful for this tool. Again, there's my information as fouts@umbc.edu. Thank you for your time. I hope this was useful, and I hope you're able to use this as a tool because I find it very, very useful in my own teaching and research as well. So thank you for your time and have a great day.